All right, let's say hi to Wendy Bee.
Hi.
How you doing, Miss Wendy?
We're doing all right, chugging along, keeping busy.
What do we got cooking over there today?
So it's been a pretty wild week, to put it that way. So I brought along a protection grid just for the need of, to being in that space. And I've got a couple paintings here. I'll talk about them a little bit later, having to do with Jesus and Mary, and I'll talk about that. I brought in a couple pictures to tell some stories to kind of go along with the theme of what has been going on in my neck of the woods. I'll just give you a little bit. My dad had an emergency on Wednesday, was taken to the ER, and was discharged on Thursday evening, and got his diagnosis. We thought it was a cardiac issue. Turns out it really wasn't. It was more pulmonary, a pulmonary issue. And then I got a call yesterday morning that my dad had some more medical stuff, and this one was kind of like terrifying. So they took them in, and right now he's still in the ER. And I'm gonna take a minute. It reminds you of why we're here, and plugging in, and community, and how you put your best foot forward. Under circumstances 5 to 10 years ago, I would have been in the fetal. But we all pulled in. My dad is in Miami, so watching all of this happen, I was up saying prayers until almost 3 o'clock in the morning. He's all right. He's stable for right now. They're still trying to figure out what certain things are going on. One of his diagnoses was colitis, so the abdomen. So here we talk about the chakras and how they, how they relate to the body and all that stuff. That's a whole nother conversation. Seeing how it's triggering my mom. My mom has early onset dementia. So it was triggering for her. So then it triggers one by one. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and each of us have different ways of dealing and working and navigating and that kind of thing. So as I was getting ready to settle down last night, I said, you know what? I really wanted to focus not on anything else, no crystals or anything, just thinking about the times that miracles have shown up, how they show up, the signs. We had a conversation at one point, what do signs look like and that kind of thing. So I wanted to start off with the first story when my son was 4 years old. This was in 2004. It was just 1 year shy of his diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. And my son loved the water, couldn't swim as far as we knew. He would take off and all of these things. So this particular day I was at work, and just a half an hour before I was scheduled to leave from work, I get a phone call from my husband. And my husband's trying to tell the story as calm as he can. He's leading up to the story, and I could tell in his voice something wasn't right. I'm like, honey, just tell me what's going on. He's like, you have the car. Josh is sitting in a police station. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, apparently my husband was out from work with a bad back. So he had stayed with my son, put him down for a nap. Like I said, my son was 4 at this time. Somewhere in the middle of that, my son got up, wanted to go out. We didn't have a deadbolt on the door. He went out, took off for a walk. And we had no idea. My son was nonverbal, so he couldn't say what happened. The whole time I'm thinking of, oh my God, there's canals by there. You hear so many drownings and all these kinds of things. To say that I was emotional, like you see me not drop a tear now, I can't. I went almost blind from how much I cried. And the great part of it is everything turned out well. We went and we picked him up at the police station, and I was kind of upset with my job because they were just like, oh, he's fine. They found him, and, all of these. It was just so dismissive, and I felt so like, oh my God, this is not my community. Like I didn't feel and nobody, there was no support to say everything's fine. Well, at least they found him. I don't know why you're upset. And I'm like sitting here, you're saying that because you're not a mom. Wait till the day you're a mom and see how that feels afterwards. Well, long story short, I hope that we can pull up the first picture. I went ahead and went to Publix because I was so moved, or whichever place it was. I think it was Publix. So this particular picture, I went and I got flowers. And this is like out in one of the main rooms of the house. I got the flowers, lit a candle, and you can see the date. I'm so glad that stamp was there. I hated that stamp there, but now I'm glad it's there. This was just shy of his 4th birthday. His birthday's the 27th. And I just crying, I put the candle out. It still brings me to tears. Put the candle out, and if you look at the picture, you can see up against the wall. As I went to go back to the kitchen to finish cooking dinner, I see this image on the wall. And can you see the reflection of an angel right up against the wall? I mean, even down to the way that the rays poured out from the center of what I see is the heart. I just was like, oh my God, you guys heard me. Thank you for keeping my son safe. So you see these things as signs. To me, that's a sign that my prayers were heard. And that was a blessing there. And I still look at him and I say, thank God you're here. So there was that. And I come to this day that I had a conversation with my son about a month ago. And I said, Josh, he could never tell us what happened, if anybody stopped, if the police just happened to find him, if they were just cruising. Like, all of those components ran through my mind. How did he end up there? He was found by a policeman. He could have been found by anybody and abducted. I mean, 100 things go through your mind. And finally, about a month ago, we had a conversation, and I asked him, Josh, I said, do you remember anything about it? He said, actually, I do. I said, so who was the first person did you see? Did you see the policeman? He said, no, it was an older woman in her car and drove by and asked me if I was lost. It brought back everything all over again, because I didn't know that till a month ago. And that had happened when he was 4. He's 20. He's going to be 22 now. So there was the first experience of seeing the sign of, like, oh my God, this is like, I mean, there's been many. I've asked for the Virgin to appear, and then we drive by a church and there's this humongous Virgin in the front. So, you know, the Virgin Mary. So I've had many experiences where thank God my husband's there. I'm like, because if I was alone, there wouldn't be anybody to bear witness to this story. And he's been there for many of them. So then the second picture, what was the second picture? I have to look at the picture to know what the story is behind that one. Can you pull up the second picture, guys? There you go. So this one, okay, so this was an altar I had set for somebody who was in the hospital. She ended up passing. And if you look at the image, this one looked more like, it was like a godlike image. I see the arms spread, and then there's a halo. And come to find out, that was God's way of saying she wasn't going to make it. She didn't. She ended up passing about 2 weeks after that. But set her up, her, you know, and it doesn't even look like the other image that we showed. So I know that these aren't just like a display of the candle shining through the glass or anything. This was just an image from them and how I had set up the prayer for her. Because of those prayers, there was a little bit of ease. Nobody passing is ever an easy thing, but the family was very grateful that the prayers went out there, and they were able to be a little bit more at ease with coming to terms with what was going to happen. So it wasn't such a hard thing. And the last and final picture, when I was doing a session, this is a heart. Now, when you zoom up close, at some point, you can't really see it in this image, but it was 2 leaves that crossed one another and made the heart in the center of that leaf. Amazing. So when that image came up, and you'll see that the leaves themselves, they are heart-shaped, but this was like cut out perfectly by ants biting it and stuff to make it that shape. And that was confirmation for me at the end of the session that I had done for that person at the park, that it came to completion. I collect heart-shaped rocks. I'll see a water puddle, or somebody will step on a gum and it's a heart shape, and I'll call my husband, I'm that silly one. And my husband's like, well, there, he sees it. It's 27 years of all of this wild stuff. So it's been really, really cool. So I share this, and I'll get to the paintings in a minute. I share this to simply to say that even in our difficulties, if we believe, like the sign that's right next to you, if we believe and we really pour our hearts, our soul into what our belief is and how we plug into the universe is going to give us signs and show it to us in a real way. So last story is the story behind these paintings. I had gone regularly, was in the gallery, Dana's gallery, and this particular time we were painting different things, and painting our joy, or painting something that we just wanted to connect with. And while I was there sitting on this side looking towards into the gallery, I see Mary come up and I see Jesus come up. And they were sitting behind this one lady, or standing, I should say, behind this one lady who was also doing her paintings and whatnot. And just sat with that for a minute and just felt their light emanating around them. And they made themselves present. And I spoke to somebody who's a member of the clergy, and I'm like, they appeared to me. And he said to me, they're coming to form like a trinity with you, and helping you to continue with your healing. So the images that I felt, this was for the Mother Mary. She came with so many flowers and the rose smell and this immense amount of compassion. It's a compassion that we at this worldly place, unless you have connected and you're moved, and it's moved beyond words that I can really even say. It's just moved from your center of your soul, the center of your heart space, your connection to source. And then Jesus came along, and he kind of just he moved his hand over, and then he put his hands in like a prayer shape, and then he put him right next to and just stood right next to the Virgin Mary. And it was steadfast. And then at some point I saw wings, and at some point Archangel Michael showed up. And then before I knew it, they just stepped back, receded, disappeared. They just stepped back into the ethers as if they were never there. Now, nobody saw that, but I certainly did. It was a lot of beautiful things that happened in the gallery. Things that is really hard to quantify unless you walk in and you see a painting down, or you hear a sound, or the door closes, and spirits just making themselves present all the time. This was really moving for me. It's really moving.
All of this means, as a spiritual guide that you are.
So for me, I feel that we all receive signs, guidance, our guardian angels, Source, Jesus, Mary. I feel like those of us, we resonate with somebody or some being or some energy. And for me to say it's just one being is very hard for me to do that, because there's so many different ways that we receive that. I believe we receive signs when we need them, when we're looking for an answer. Those of us who see the signs or can recognize the signs will definitely see the signs. I've had conversations with people that the signs are kind of like clearly missed, and they'll have conversation. I'm like, wait. That was a sign. What was your prayer? And then I help them connect the dots. Once the dots are connected, once you can see it, it's like it's a whole brand new channel. You've just dialed into a whole new channel, and now you'll receive a bird. You'll receive a song on the radio. I can't tell you how many times where I'm having a conversation with somebody, and sometimes a person's picking up what I'm putting down and they need confirmation. Sometimes other people are looking for something that kind of says, yeah, this thing is real. I've had that conversation so many times, and something will turn up, or a song will turn up, or I'll say, hey, this animal, and they'll tell me that animal just showed up for me yesterday. So it's all different ways. And for me, I think because I have so many channels, I receive messages on so many planes. And then I have other people that they'll receive the message in a smell, or they'll receive it by hearing it, or in a dream. So it really is finding where your specialty is, or where your antenna is dialed into, where the symbols or the image comes in, or the smell will come in. I can't tell you how many times I've been on my knees like, God, just give me a sign, send me somebody, and Mother Mary shows up. And I can feel her pulling me right into her chest and giving me a big hug and just saying, it's going to be okay. I got you. And she's more silent. She doesn't really speak many words. She's a woman of few words, but so much compassion. It could fill this room thousands of times with that compassion that she brings. And Jesus, he feels a little jokey at times for me, but at most times he's grounded, he's supportive, and that's the word, he's supportive. I feel Jesus as very supportive, and I can feel where doors will open, or where I'll get an inclination, oh no, not that way, go this way. So it is an underlying directional pull, guidance, a guide, a mentor. It's so many words that I give to the other side, and mostly I connect with angels, with Mary the most. She's a special lady for me, and Jesus, they do show up, And then I'm so grateful that they bring the minerals and the animals. They understand that I understand the deeper meaning and how to connect them for whoever I happen to be sitting in front of. And the messages come exactly in the language that they need to hear it in.
They come Friday. We were at temple for my dad's yahrzeit. So in the Jewish religion, on the anniversary of somebody's passing, they do a special prayer. So whether you do it on the English date or the Hebrew calendar, depending on what level you are, not how Jewish you are, but where you are, whether you're Reformed, Conservative, or Orthodox. So it was Friday night, and we go. My sister was there, and my mom, and everyone was there. And this young girl gets up to speak on behalf of foster kids, Speak Up for Kids. And if anyone, and my dad was a pediatrician, and my sister is very involved in foster care with JAFCO. So sitting there knowing, and my sister looks at me, she goes, "Did you know?" And Friday night was 7 weeks until Rosh Hashanah. So it's the Shabbat of compassion and comfort. And my sister looks at me, she goes, "Did you know?" I go, "No, what?" She said, "This was what this is." No idea. She goes, "How'd you do that?" I'm like, "I didn't do anything." But knowing that it was for my dad, my sister's crying that it's foster kids, knowing it's Speak Up for Kids, and I'm going to reach out to her and bring her in because she's 15 years old and her story is incredible.
Wow.
That this family adopted her probably when she was 9. And brought her up, and now she lives in Dubai. She's here for the summer with her grandmother, living with her grandmother. But what a story. But to know that connection, that I know my dad sent that connection and lined that up for us to be there for that day, for a variety of us to witness, for not only to know it was him, but for my sister and for me. But you have to see the signs.
1000%. And you're saying that story, and I am covered in goosebumps from head to foot. I totally believe it. And it's going to sound different for all of us.
Right.
It's just hearing and seeing
Sure.
the sign. Yeah.
And knowing what to do with it, if anything.
And many
Exactly.
people, they ignore the signs, which is a big problem.
Yeah.
And for whatever, again, we talked about resistance, and the signs comes in very different ways. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be very
Subtle.
tiny
Yep.
ways. Something shows up, and like I said, people would just let it go by, and it's like, don't take life for granted. Not a second in your life. Every moment is a blessing. Every moment you have to live in gratitude, because it's little things that you go, oh, and it's that one little thing that starts the ball rolling for what's supposed to come. People want the end, and sometimes you cannot get the end. We are given information in incremental steps because we can't take it all in on one time because it'll be too much. We'll be overwhelmed. So we get it one bit at a time, and you will get to where you're going, but you have to go through the flow. We talked about a flow.
1000%.
You have to go with the flow. Every step, every message, every awakening, every awareness is very big here, will get you to what, the answers you're looking for.
Yeah, because
right?
not every end works for everybody. So an answer to your end might not be the answer to her end.
No.
But it's unusual because all of a sudden everybody's looking for answers, and the answers lie in looking at the signs. And we don't see them, we ignore them, we miscommunicate them, we whatever.
Or we overlook them too.
Well, I'm going to take it again to the metaphysical science because that's what I'm in. And in metaphysics, we are taught that what you focus on is what you attract.
Exactly.
So our subconscious mind takes in a lot of information all day long from the minute you were born. But it only focuses on what you need in that moment. So when you decide, and I'm sure you've all experienced that, if you've been driving down the road and you said, I've never seen a red car, and suddenly everywhere you look are red cars popping up. But that's the subconscious mind saying, oh, that's what you want to see? Then it focuses in on that, right? So whatever you ask, we're all asking different questions. We're all asking for different whatever answers that is. But the minute you ask, it's all about being very clear on what you want and what you need. The clearer you are, the faster you get your manifestation.
Absolutely.
So,
And then you have to
Go
be
ahead.
prepared to deal with the manifestation. I just had this conversation with you this morning. I asked for it. It's here.
yes.
And now I have to.
But that
Correct.
isn't what you asked for.
Correct.
I mean, if you're asking a question and it comes in multiple answers, you got to figure it out.
Right, I told you this morning. I asked and here it is. And now now I have to go.
specific.
Well, no,
You have
it's
to be
good. It is exactly what I asked for, but now it involves other people. That now I have to make some
But
conversations for it to
adjustments.
come to fruition.
But
right?
it doesn't. You think it does.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when you make a soup and you add too much salt, somebody else says, "Oh, this is perfect."
Correct.
So you have to have, I mean, the lesson learned is that you have to have confidence that you see the sign.
Right.
You're going to work in
Yes.
what you believe in. If not, then you need more seasoning.
Yes.
You need
And
more
you know what?
sign.
And remember we said earlier, just start.
Exactly.
You don't
Just
have.
so,
It
right.
doesn't have to be the end. Just start with that one call, that one step, that one decision,
entry
whatever
point.
that is. Right.
Find the entry
You
point.
just have to start. You don't have to resolve the issue. You just got to start.
To start. It's true.
So
I was told once to be an observer so that when
Yes.
someone acknowledges a sign, give them a tap in the back of the leg.
Yep.
Says, good job.
yes.
Yep.
And they're looking at you and say, what I do? Figure it out.
Yes.
But an observer observes
Exactly.
exactly what others do. And that's the best learned lesson
Oh yeah.
there is.
Absolutely.
But you have to be able to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to make it
Acknowledge
so
the
somebody
sign.
else
Yes.
can give you the answer because they know it.
Freddie,
remember-
to your point, I want to add something to that because that's really important. Early on, when this year has been my brother almost died in a car accident. Like there's been so much stuff and so much havoc, and in this whole thing, it's watching all of the signs fall into place, and oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. What was the last thing that you said?
Your brother
Freddie?
was ill, the observer.
Oh, the observer. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for bringing me right back. So I told one of my sisters, and this has been with each of my siblings, we all have different ways of doing things. Some of us talk a little bit more than we do. Some of us talk and we do. Some of us, do a combination of that. And I just told my sister, because she was concerned, I'm saying, just take a step back. Everybody puts in what they're able to do, and then watch what's done. And then you'll know who excels at what piece of the pie. Somebody's good at doing phone calls, you can see who it is, then that person is in charge of phone calls. If you're in charge of the logistics or getting somewhere, then that's who you're in charge of. Everybody wants to say, I can do this, that, and the other until it's time to do it. And when it comes time for the doing, they don't really do it. So this is where the observing comes in. You keep your mouth shut, watch, and see, so that moving forward, you can begin to say, yeah, you said you were going to do such and such a thing, and instead of it being a fight, you said you were going to do this, you didn't complete it. No, this time, can you do this? And you redirect it so that something that fell through the cracks the first time doesn't fall through the cracks the second time. So observer mode is very, very important. I'm a talker, but I'm also an observer. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to observe it in my mind. I'm going to observe it outwards, and then I'm going to adjust my way of moving forward. And my siblings are doing the same thing. They've gone through their own little things, and this whole shenanigans with the family has kind of put everybody, and I can see where everybody's moving forward now going into August.
You have 5 siblings?
I have 5. I'm the oldest of 5.
Wow.
See,
got-
but making
from
a
5
cake in
too.
your
You
house
are?
is very difficult.
Yeah.
You too?
Yeah.
Making a cake in your house is difficult to begin with.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to sit and hold the pot
Yep.
because all these ingredients
Yes.
are going to be
Are
added.
you an ingredient? Are you holding the pot?
I hold the pot.
You do hold the pot.
I do.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be right. It's like I tell my sister, because there's only me and her left.
Right.
And I says, you could be right 99% of the time. All I'm asking is for one.
You do hold the pot. That
So
is
she
true.
says, you only want to be right 1% of the time? I go, yeah. And now, in her head, she's like, wow, maybe I have to listen more because he doesn't even want the attention.
Uh-huh.
Do you understand how
Yes.
human
Yes.
characteristic works?
Interesting.
I don't want more. I want
Yes.
less. I want you to give me more.
Yeah.
You tell me. And if we do something and it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
And remember,
Exactly.
it's all in the perspective. This again is quantum physics, right? Quantum physics says again what so we're all seeing exactly the same thing, but we're still having a different experience. If someone interview each one of us, we will give them a complete different story, even though we're all here seeing the same thing. So it's in the perspective, and our perspective also comes from your background. So whatever you experience in your life, and as your child, whatever that is, you will judge stuff based on your personality, on what your belief. So we all judge a situation on our own experience, on what we know, right? So that's where perspective, awareness, observation all falls on. So there's no right and there's no wrong. Like you said, you know, someone would taste the same soup and say this is delicious, and someone would say, ugh, too salty. But, you know, we just have a different way of whatever, our taste buds or the way we grew up. I mean, some people would say, oh, this food is not spicy at all. And I'd be like, are you kidding? It's crazy spicy. And they're like, no, but I don't have the tolerance for spice. That's the difference. But you can't tell me I'm right or wrong. That's just me. That's what makes sense
Opinions are
to me.
never right or wrong.
Interesting.
Correct. There's no right or wrong in this life, really.
Wendy, thank you for that fresh perspective.
You're so very welcome. Appreciate
See, I
it.
feel like Lynn is here with us right now,
Yeah.
Sitting right there.
sitting right there.
Yep. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
All right, Wendy's available to do readings and to do private conversations, so you can get in touch with her at
Holisticblessings.com, and there's all my socials. There's my Etsy shop. You can find me in any of those spots right at my website, holisticblessings.com.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to check in with Sally and Steve at the other side of the studio. We're going to get Sally's book, Rockin' and Rollin'. We'll be right back.
Greatness isn't something you chase.